There are some movies that are just absolutely god-awful. These are the 5 worst movies of 2015. Oh boy. 50 Shades of fucking Grey. Okay, I really wasn't expecting high things from this, but this is just... I can hardly bring into words how terrible this movie is. It's god-awful. It kind of swings between all sorts of different moods, like just being kind of romantic, kind of brutal, and then kind of magical. The leads have all the chemistry of a cabbage and water. I actually asked my mum, who's read the book. Mr. Grey himself, he's supposed to be tall and intimidating, whereas Anastasia Steele, she's supposed to be actually easily intimidated by him. But the guy they cast to play Mr. Grey, he's about as intimidating as, well, a cabbage. And let's also not forget about the ending. Oh god, okay, I hate cliffhanger sequel bait endings, and this is the most blatant, poorly done sequel bait ending. If you haven't seen the movie, this is it. Anastasia Steele walks in the elevator for Christian Grey's penthouse. She says, "Mr. Christian?" And he then says, "Miss Steele." The elevator doors close, and that's the end of the movie. I remember in the theatre then actually yelling out, "What the hell? Where's the rest of it?" Again, I hate cliffhanger endings, but this was the most unsatisfactory, and the reason it's number 5 on this list is because, again, I wasn't expecting high things from it, and I don't think anybody really was. Entourage. Now, I haven't seen any of the TV show, so I went in completely blind with this movie, and... ugh, goddamn, I really cannot understand why people like this show. I mean, it's like Seinfeld, and it's about nothing, except Seinfeld was actually funny and entertaining. Really loved the Soup Nazi episode myself. But Entourage, it was just all about this rich actor living the high life, his friends getting into non-conflicts, and then just getting out of them without any real consequence, and... like 50 Shades of Grey, it was just boring. Terrible movie, terribly written, just terrible everything. If you're a fan of Entourage, I really cannot see how you like the show or how you can like this movie. Sorry guys, but Entourage is just terrible. Poltergeist. Okay, again, this was a movie that I had a review planned for, but had to abandon, but Poltergeist... okay, fun fact. Sam Raimi was the producer on this movie. He was one of the producers, so how did this movie end up so bad as it is? I want to know. Okay, rather than try to tell the original story in a unique and interesting way, they just retell the original story word for word with some minor changes thrown in there. Instead of focusing on the adults, the focus is now more on the kid brother. Instead of having one ghost hunter with a squeaky high-pitched voice, they have a professor and a ghost hunting reality star. And it's tributes and homages to some of the iconic scenes from the movie, like the clown scene or the scene where the husband rips his own face off. They're all half-assed and barely scary at all. It barely shows any glimpses of creativity, and the only time it shows any creativity at all, is when we actually get to see the ghost world in this, and even then it's unimpressive. It's just a cheap CGI rip-off of the ghost world from Insidious. In fact, the entire movie just feels like it's copying the most popular ghost films of recent years. Coincidentally, all the ones directed by James Wan, like The Conjuring and Insidious, and arguably Sinister. It's just shit, terrible, boring... no, it's just a bad horror movie. Don't even bother with it. Fantastic Four, or should I say, Fantastic Bore. Like many of the movies on this list, Fantastic Four was just boring, but it was easily the most boring and managed to be the modern day embodiment of how bad superhero movies can be. It's dark, serious, and dour, has little to nothing to do with the comics, unless you count the origin story from Ultimate Fantastic Four, and its villain was just god-awful. I mean, this was just the worst version of Doctor Doom ever. I don't care how many heads he makes explode with his mind, how many bullets he deflects. When you look like a piece of rejected Terminator concept art that's reminiscent of a sex doll, nobody can really find you scary at all. if you really, really want to see just how bad superhero movies can be outside of Green Lantern, then Pirate Fantastic Four, don't even pay for it. It's really that bad. And now before we get to the #1 worst movie of 2015, here are a few dishonourable mentions. 2014's Left Behind. This was actually one of the first movies I reviewed for 2015. Let's see. Oh man, what to say about it? Okay, well, once again, like 50 Shades of Grey, nobody was really expecting it to be great or even good at all. It was just absolutely god-awful, hokey acting, terrible effects, well, it's not exactly working with flawless source material, and they have Nicolas Cage, an actor who's not only pretty talented at times, but also is known for having really funny freakouts, and they didn't even use that to it. So they had Nicolas Cage, but they didn't have him do a freakout. This movie was doomed to failure. And yet somehow it's getting a sequel. American Sniper. I know some people love this movie, but to me, it just sucked. It was blatant US war propaganda, it glossed over unsavory elements of the biography, and, well, how can you honestly feel any emotion for this guy when the baby he's caring for in that scene is just a doll? If you like it, fine, but dude, come on, it's not that good. Especially when you consider that Clint Eastwood has done much better movies. Spectre. Okay, instead of just being the climactic conclusion to Daniel Craig's time as Bond, Spectre was just more of a damp squib of a fart. It really wasn't that impressive. The first half of the story was just really hard to follow unless you've seen the previous movies, as well as, well, just generally confusing. The villain really wasn't anything memorable, and it spends way too much time referencing the classic Bonds instead of just trying to tell a decent and cohesive story. Really, if you're a fan of Bond, you should feel betrayed, and if you're a fan of Daniel Craig's Bond, you should just feel disappointed. Hotel Transylvania 2. Now, I like the original Hotel Transylvania. I thought it was a good mix of comedy and drama with some good animation, and Adam Sandler really showing off what he can do as an actor. But this movie, though, the drama is considerably less compelling. I will give it credit, though, how it represents the whole monster-human relationship thing as a metaphor for acceptance of gays was actually very clever. It's just a shame they really didn't do much more with it. The resulting story just plays out like one of Adam Sandler's live-action movies, which is made all the more gallingly apparent since he was actually one of the co-writers on this. If you like the original, or if you got kids, pass it up and get something better like Steven Universe. Just avoid this movie. It sucks. Annie. The remake of the classic musical. Now, oh boy, I'm not really much of a fan of this particular material, but it was just a piece of annoying, pandering musical trash that really is not worth anyone's attention at all. Especially when it's got a message that's as silly and stupid, and not to mention simplistic, as rich people can be good people too. You know you're not really in for a treat. Sony Pictures has really put out much, much better stuff than this tripe. Once again, Adam Sandler has created the worst movie of the year. Pixels tricks you into thinking it's going to be this nice little light-hearted comedy adventure fueled by 1980s video game nostalgia, and instead just turns into Adam Sandler hanging out with his friends, doing a bunch of really simple and unfunny jokes, only now with a considerably larger budget for great effects that just underwhelms, bores, and sucks so much dick that it now breathes spunk instead of air. If you liked Pixels, I'm sorry, but you're just provably wrong. There are much better movies out there. In fact, even Adam Sandler himself has done much better movies in the past, but this movie just, it sucks so many dicks. Just no.